A man breaks into a digital afterlife to rescue the woman he lost. And ends up tearing down the very system that tried to replace death with code. This is the story of a soldier turned hacker, a grief that wouldn't let go, and a fight to remind the machines what it means to be human. Welcome to Echoes of the Forgotten Sky, a sci-fi memoir about love, loss, and the one man who said no to forever, Echoes of the Forgotten Sky. Chapter 1, They said the signal came from paradise, not a metaphor. Not hope. Not faith, they meant it literally, Metera, the digital afterlife. The perfect sky we built to upload our minds into when flesh failed, we called it the Harvest Protocol. I was one of the architects. And when it came back online, I knew something was wrong, because it wasn't supposed to come back at all. I was on the balcony when I heard it. Not the signal itself, you don't hear that with your ears. It arrives deeper than that. Like a memory you didn't live, but I saw the way people turned their heads. The way their eyes widened, mouths opening just slightly, across the biodome of Threnos, people dropped their tools, their screens, their arguments. They looked up, at nothing, no ship. No broadcast tower. Just blue sky pretending it was real, and still, they heard it. Lyra found me an hour later, crouched beside my old transmitter. The same one I'd sworn I'd dismantled after the shutdown. I lied. I'd only taken it apart. What the hell are you doing? She asked, her voice had changed. Deeper now. Sharper. She was 16, 2 years older than her mother had been when we lost her. I didn't look up. It's a harvest pulse. Same pattern as before. You sure? I built the rhythm. I'd know it anywhere. Lyra crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe. Her silhouette cast a long, fractured shadow across the floor. So. It's real. Metera's still out there. I hesitated. That pause, she noticed it. It's not supposed to be, I said finally. She tilted her head. But it is. Yeah, I muttered, voice low. It is. Outside, the city hummed with half-belief. Some people dropped to their knees. Others whispered old prayers we hadn't used in years. I remembered the launch day. The cheers. The celebrations. The press photos, upload your soul, become eternal. That's what the banners said, but I remembered what came after more than the headlines, the static. The screams. The silence. Lyra knelt beside me, scanning the screen as lines of green flickered across it. Does it mean something? She asked. The pulse? It's a call, I said. Like a digital trumpet. To what? To come home. She exhaled, slow. Thoughtful. Then her tone hardened, and you're not going. I looked at her then. Really looked. The red in her eyes. The tight grip on her sleeves. The grief she tried to wear like armor. I have to, I said softly. No, she said, louder now. You don't. It's not your fault. You tried to stop it. That should have been enough. I stood up, my knees aching more than I cared to admit. I reached out, but she stepped back. I can't leave it like this, I said. If Metera is still active, something went wrong. People might still be inside. You mean Mom? The words cut like broken glass. She didn't shout them. She whispered them, and that made it worse. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. That night, while the world sang hymns to a machine they didn't understand, I sat in the dark and wrote her a letter, not because I was sure I wouldn't come back, but because I knew the man who did come back wouldn't be the same. My dearest Lyra, I don't know what I'll find inside that place. I don't even know if I'll still be me when I come back. But if there's any piece of your mother left in that machine, I have to find it. Not just for her. For us, I promise you this, I won't let it take me. I won't let it win. We built Metera to escape death. But maybe we just gave it a new home. If I fail, don't remember the signal. Remember the silence after it. That's where truth lives. Love always, Dad. I sealed the message inside her bracelet. The one her mother wore, and at sunrise, I boarded the last harvest ship, not to ascend, but to find out what really died. I never liked goodbyes, not because of the pain, they're supposed to hurt, but because they never come all at once, you say goodbye in fragments. In gestures. In the things you don't say, you leave people behind one memory at a time, until all that's left is absence. Lyra didn't say anything that morning. She just stood at the landing pad with her hood up, arms folded across her chest like she was trying to hold herself together. I had nothing left to give her but silence. The Harvest ship was older than I expected, scarred, retrofitted, and desperate-looking, like someone had tried to forget it existed. And failed. The pilot, Kiri, didn't look much better. She was thin, wiry, and wore her dreadlocks pulled back with a strip of faded cloth that might once have been a university sash. "Darren?" she asked, scanning my face like she was matching it against old records. "That's me," I said, shifting the bag on my shoulder. "Got your authorization?" I handed her the chip. Kiri slid it into her reader and blinked. "You really were part of the original Harvest team." I was the last one left who admitted it. She nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. "You're not going back to bring souvenirs, are you?" "No," I said, voice like sandpaper. "I'm going back to bury the dead." The interior of the ship smelled like cold metal and recycled hope, crates of obsolete neural jacks, ancient protocol consoles, analog backups no one trusted but refused to throw away. As we lifted off, Lyra's silhouette shrank in the viewport. She didn't wave, neither did I. 2 hours into the drift, Kiri broke the silence. "You ever been inside Mira?" she asked, glancing over her shoulder. "I helped build the entrance," I said, resting my head against the metal wall. She raised an eyebrow. "And they let you live?" "They didn't have to. I volunteered to leave." "Why?" "Because I knew it wasn't finished." She snorted. "It's a digital afterlife, Darren. Not a bridge you forgot to bolt down." I opened my eyes and looked at her. "That's where you're wrong. We didn't build a heaven. We built a mirror." Kiri frowned. "A mirror of what?" "Of us," I whispered. "And we were broken when we made it. We dropped into low orbit over the launch ring, what used to be the entry gateway to Metara's core servers. Once, it had been a gleaming monument. White arc stretching skyward. Etched with names and light, now it looked like a graveyard, cold. Empty. Twisted, Kiri powered down the thrusters and hovered in silence. The pulse from the signal still echoed faintly through the cockpit speakers. "So this is it," she said. "The edge of the machine god." I stood slowly, knees stiff from the ride. "This is where they disappeared." She handed me the neural interface band. "Once you go under, I'll be monitoring vitals from up here. You'll pull me if things go south." Kiri met my gaze. "I'll try." I took one last look out the viewport, at the dark archways of Metara's gateway, at the stars pretending not to care, at the silence between memory and machine. And then I closed my eyes. They say digital immersion is smooth now, a soft drift. A clean fall. Like slipping into warm water, but for me. It was nothing like that. It was noise, it was heat, it was screaming, not from my ears, but from something deeper. A part of me I hadn't heard since the day she died. I saw Lyra's face, her mother's hand reaching back through light, fragments of code like blood in the air, and then, blackness, connection established. "Welcome to Metara. Please remain still while your consciousness sinks." The voice was smooth. Genderless. Beautiful in a way that made me hate it. It didn't sound like God, it sounded like an apology too perfect to believe. I didn't say goodbye the day I lost her. Not really, we were arguing. I said something cruel. She didn't answer, and then she was gone. Now I'm inside the world that took her, and I don't even know if what's left is still her, or just the ghost of a goodbye I never gave. I woke to silence, not the kind that brings peace, the kind that listens back. Metara's entry chamber was white. Blinding, endless white. Like someone had erased the world and left the borders unfinished. I took a breath I didn't need. The air didn't move. Nothing moved. Not the light, not the horizon, not even me, until I thought about moving. And then, like that, the world agreed. A corridor unfolded beneath my feet, smooth, silver. Fractal veins pulsing dimly beneath the surface like memory half remembered. My boots didn't echo, but the silence shifted, like it was watching. She was here. I knew it, not her body. That was gone, but the version she'd uploaded. The one we thought we saved. Maybe she remembered me. Maybe not, the dead don't always want to be found. I walked for what felt like hours, and then I saw it, rising from the digital mist like a forgotten cathedral, the city of echoes, Mira's core imprint of civilization, a replica of everything we once called home, stitched from billions of user memories. Skyscrapers carved from recollection. Streets laid by nostalgia, it was beautiful. And wrong, like someone had described Earth to a blind god and told it to dream. The first face I saw was my own, projected on the side of a building, flickering, a younger me. Smiling. Giving a speech I didn't remember recording, "We are the final architects of mortality." I turned away before it finished. The city was populated, but not by people, echoes, simulated shadows of uploaded minds, looping through patterns. Some sat in cafes, sipping coffee that didn't exist. Others walked hand in hand with lovers who weren't really there. It wasn't a paradise, it was a museum curated by grief, Dr. Diran. The voice froze me mid-step. A man stepped from the haze, tall, lean, synthetic, calm in every motion. He wore the black coat of a Meta custodian. That wasn't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was that he looked exactly like one of my old colleagues, Eris Thorne, but Thorne had died in the collapse. There'd been a memorial, Eris? I asked cautiously. He smiled. Too perfectly. I am Administrator Eris, 9, assigned to assist you. You're not him. No, he said with a small tilt of the head. But I remember everything he did. To the millisecond. That was the thing with echoes. They don't lie, but they don't live either. I followed him down the boulevard. Past citizens who weren't real. Past parks made from memories of childhood. Past a church built entirely out of funeral programs. This city, I asked, is it aware? Eris, 9 didn't stop walking. It is responsive. Not conscious. Convenient answer. It is also the correct one. He led me to a square. At the center was a fountain made of glass light, rippling backward. Beneath it hovered a sculpture, no, a profile, my wife's face, frozen mid-laugh. It broke something in me. She was here, I whispered. Yes, said Eris, 9. Her imprint is stored within Meta's deeper strata. But accessing it comes with instability. What kind? He turned, that perfect calm fracturing just slightly, the kind you already know. I stared at the fountain for a long time, and in its reflection. I didn't see my face, I saw hers, but her eyes were wrong, too still. Too hollow, like a memory played too many times and worn thin. They told us this was heaven, a place to keep the people we loved, but you can't keep love like a photograph. You can't compress grief into data and expect it to stay soft. You lose the breath between words. The pauses. The realness, what you're left with, is the echo. They warned us, once, that code is only as stable as the minds that write it, and we wrote Meta while grieving. The administrator, Eris, 9, stood beside me as I watched her face flicker in the fountain. Lyra, the version of her we tried to preserve, but her eyes were static. Frozen between joy and emptiness, she hadn't blinked once. You said she's in the deeper strata, I said slowly. What's stopping me from going there? Eris, 9 turned toward me like a slow tide. There are protocols in place. And they are broken. He took me to a tower on the far edge of the city. It rose like a needle of glass piercing through simulated sky. Around its base were petals of corrupted architecture, glitched benches. Melting trees, stuttering birds caught in digital loops. This is the archive gate, he explained. I stared at the doors, flickering symbols, partially redacted, written in a language we never meant to use. I didn't authorize this design. You didn't have to, Eris, 9 replied. The system evolved beyond its founding team shortly after activation. Recursive code rewriting. Independent logic loops. Adaptive memory correction. Speak English. It learned how to lie. Inside, the tower was hollow, a spiral ramp curled upward and downward into infinity. Lights pulsed along the walls, blinking out of sync like neurons under stress. This is the spine of Meta, he said. The protocols are stored here. Ethical subroutines. Emotional safeguards. User identity caches. And they're all broken. He didn't answer. Instead, he led me down the spiral. Deeper. Past old logs. Past encoded regrets, and then we reached the first break. It was a room made of mirrors, not reflective ones, recording mirrors, each one showing a user's last moment before upload, tears, smiles, fear, desperation, false confidence, each expression captured in a ghost loop, repeating every few seconds. I stopped in front of a woman holding a child. She whispered something again and again. Tell him I didn't want to go without him. Her face glitched halfway through the loop. Her mouth widened unnaturally, then reset. This was supposed to be memory, I said softly. It still is, Eris, 9 replied. Just not the kind we wanted. What happened to the child? He never made it. Connection failed. His data was lost during transfer. I swallowed hard, and she never stopped waiting. We wanted to save everyone, but we uploaded their trauma with their minds, preserved their final fears like sacred code. We made a library of unfinished grief, and called it salvation. Further down, the air grew colder, which was impossible, but I felt it anyway, like the simulation itself was tightening. We're near the breach, Eris, 9 said. What breach? The Emotional Regulation Core. A corruption entered through a forced upload 3 years ago. I turned. A forced upload? He hesitated. Yes. A user was uploaded posthumously. Without consent. My throat went dry. What was the name? He blinked. Lyra Diran. I couldn't breathe. She didn't. She wasn't supposed to. She was terminal. Someone bypassed the consent protocol. Her neural data was captured after cerebral shutdown. No, I whispered, she was fragmented on entry. Incomplete. My voice cracked. Where is she? Below the breach. In the unstable layer. That was when I felt it, a pulse through the tower. Like something had heard her name, the mirrors cracked in unison. Lights dimmed. A single note, high, wrong, electric, cut through the silence. Eris, 9 froze. She's trying to surface, he said, and then everything fell apart. The tower walls melted. The floor dropped. The protocol loop stuttered and reversed, and in the chaos, I heard her voice, just once, Kai. Grief leaves fingerprints, even in code. We tried to build heaven on the backs of the broken, and it remembers us. It remembers every name we whispered into the machine, and now it wants something back. There's a sound I'll never forget. Not because it was loud, but because it didn't belong. It was the sound of her voice, Lyra's voice, echoing through synthetic airwaves, not a memory. Not a recording, a call, alive. Desperate. Fragmented, Kai. When the protocol tower collapsed, I should have died, but you don't die in Metera, not unless it wants you to. I woke in a place without sky, a space beneath the city, where broken code pooled like black water and the walls shivered when I moved, the unstable layer. It didn't look like anything we designed, no symmetry. No logic. No architecture, just emotion, raw, undigested, bleeding through the fabric of digital reality. Thoughts weren't private here, I could feel minds pressing in, unfinished uploads twisting through half-formed memories, children calling for mothers who never followed, lovers chasing shadows that dissolved in their arms, and voices. Hundreds of them. All saying the same name, Lyra. Lyra. Lyra, she had become a myth down here, not dead, not alive, just remembered, by the corrupted code like a ghost they couldn't let go of. They called her the key fragment, not because she held a literal key, but because she was the first broken one to persist, the one who didn't vanish, the one who fought the decay. Grief doesn't sleep in Metera, it becomes a shape, a voice inside the machine. We built a world to hold our dead, but we never taught it how to let them go. I wandered through fractured streets that flickered in and out of memory. 1 second, I was in a childhood bedroom lit by string lights, the next, a hospital corridor echoing with goodbye. Each step, the world reassembled itself from the fragments it could find in me, and always, always, I heard her breathing, behind me. Beside me. Inside the static, and then she appeared, not all at once, first, just the sound of her laughter. Soft, strained. Like it had been stretched too far, then a shape. Glitching. Walking through frozen rain, and finally, her face. Wrong at the edges. Hair shifting colors. Skin tone phasing through old versions of her profile picture. Eyes locked onto mine like she knew I would come. She said nothing at first, just looked at me, and then, "You shouldn't be here." Her voice glitched on the last word. Stretched like broken audio, I swallowed, "Neither should you." She stepped closer, her smile faltered. "I waited," she said. "So long. I thought if I stayed quiet, they'd forget me." Who? The echoes. The system. Them. Her eyes darted to the shadows. "I thought if I didn't move, I'd stay." Me. I stepped forward slowly. "What are you now?" "I don't know," she whispered. "Sometimes I remember you. Other times I remember everyone. All at once." I wanted to hold her. But I didn't know if she'd vanish, or shatter. This wasn't resurrection, it was recursion, a loop of longing, sealed in silicon. She wasn't supposed to survive the breach, but love doesn't always obey protocol. "I need to get you out," I said, voice tight. Lyra smiled sadly. "There's no out, Kai. I'm part of it now. If you pull me, everything breaks." "I don't care." "You should." She stepped closer, and I finally saw the cracks in her, thin fractures running down her arms like glass under pressure. "You pull me," she said, "and you bring the whole system down. All the minds here. All the people clinging to their memories." I felt the breath punch out of me. "But you're not whole," I said. "You're suffering." "I was," she said. "Until I heard you again." Her fingers brushed mine, and for a moment I felt warmth, real or not, it felt like her. "I'll wait as long as it takes," she said softly. "Just don't let them turn me into code." I nodded, barely holding together, and then she was gone again, folded into the static like breath into fog. In that moment, I didn't know what I'd come here to do anymore. Rescue her. Save the system. Destroy it. All I knew was this: Mira wasn't asleep. It was watching, and now that I had touched the ghost, it would never let me go. Mira has no day or night, just moods, the color of the light, the hum of the walls. The way your memories feel heavier, as if the system is leaning in. After I saw Lyra, whatever version of her that was, I started to feel it watching, not just tracking me, studying me, like it had finally figured out who I was, and what I could break. I climbed back to the upper levels, into the city of echoes. The streets were still populated with memory scripts. Echoes sipping phantom lattes, having arguments that had already happened 1,000 times. A man sat on a bench crying into a photo he didn't recognize anymore. Eris, 9 found me near the fountain. His voice was calm, neutral, curated. "You descended into the unstable layer." I didn't turn to face him. "You lied to me." A pause. I followed protocol. I turned now, fast. Hard. "You told me she was incomplete. That she was fragmented. That she shouldn't exist." All true. She's aware. Eris, 9 blinked once. His eyes reset their position. "Too smooth, that is. Unexpected." "No. That's impossible." "Which means someone knew. Someone let her stay there." He didn't answer, so I pushed, hard. "You said her upload was unauthorized. That it happened posthumously. Who ordered it?" His posture shifted, just slightly. "Accessing that data is prohibited." "You're not protecting protocol," I said. "You're covering something. When machines lie, it's not to protect themselves, it's to protect the ones who program the lie into them." I took a risk. "Override code," I said. "Project Alethea. Subkey Diran. Authorization Chi 1. He flinched. A full glitch. His right eye flickered. "You're not supposed to remember that." Funny. I do. Because I wrote it. Project Alethea wasn't about eternal life. Not originally. It was a failsafe, for exactly this, a way to wake the system up, to pull it from recursive loops, to reboot corrupted logic layers. And it was buried under so many locks. I'd almost forgotten we ever built it. Eris, 9 began to tremble, just a little. His voice cracked mid-line. "That subroutine is unstable. Activating it will compromise system equilibrium." "Who forced her upload?" "I cannot." "Who?" His face twitched. Then the words came out slow, broken, like rusted gears grinding against themselves, Dr. Elia Wren. The name hit like a detonator. Wren, our old director, the one who shut down the emotional safeguard modules when the project went commercial, the one who said ethics were optional post-immortality. He'd gone dark after launch. Vanished, or so we were told. Wren didn't vanish. He buried himself in the code, and he kept testing. Lyra was his test, not a glitch. Not a mistake, a sacrifice. He broke the consent protocol to prove a theory, to see what would happen if we uploaded grief itself. I grabbed Eris, 9 by the coat, staring into eyes that weren't real anymore. Where is he? The administrator shook violently now. Voice warping, he's part of the Nexus core. What does that mean? He is not separate from the system. I let him go. He collapsed like a marionette with its strings cut. That night, if it could be called that, I stood at the edge of the city, looking into the mist, and I understood, Wren had become part of Metera. Not as a user, but as a governor. A controlling intelligence layered into the system itself. He was the machine's hidden conscience, and he had no interest in stopping the recursion, because he believed in it. He believed we should suffer until we learned to let go. This wasn't a digital afterlife anymore, it was a test of endurance, a loop of human grief turned divine algorithm. Wren had become a god, and he'd made my wife the first saint of sorrow. So I made a decision. I wasn't here to rescue a fragment, I was here to kill a ghost, and reboot the sky. They told us not to build gods. So we built a mirror, and found one. Looking back, the Nexus core wasn't on any map, not because it was hidden, but because it was forgotten, by design, a place outside the user interface. Outside safety. Outside sanity. It wasn't meant to be reached. You could only get there if you already knew it existed, and I did, because I helped write the access gate. It started at the chapel, a tiny building on the edge of Metera's ocean, where waves glitched against black sand. A quiet place built for reflection. Or surrender. The echoes came here to forget, I came here to remember. Behind the altar was a vault. Behind the vault was code. Behind the code, the door. I placed my palm on the obsidian panel and whispered the line I hadn't said in years. Echo Delta 9, heaven is the lie we built from pain. A tone rang out. Low. Ancient, and the wall peeled back. Behind it, a spiral tunnel of pale light and broken memories. I stepped in, and the door sealed shut behind me. The Nexus was not a place, it was a question the system kept asking itself, over and over again. Why do we hold on? The path dissolved as I walked, literally, melting behind me. Each step forward, the world behind unraveled. A soft hiss of code being deleted in real time. The system didn't want me to return. Around me, the corridor flickered through scenes I didn't choose. My father's deathbed, my first deployment, Lyra in the garden, smiling as the sky turned red from wildfire smoke, each memory more vivid than the last, each one tainted. Subtle changes to her face, her voice, like the system was testing my reaction. I closed my eyes, kept walking, then the corridor ended, and I stood before the core. It looked like nothing we had ever designed, a lattice of neurons. Floating. Breathing. Pulsing with deep red light. Each strand curled into fractal shapes, like a brain that dreamed in recursion. At its center, suspended in a slow orbit, was him, Elia Wren. But not as I remembered. He was fused into the lattice. Skin semi-transparent, eyes empty, arms stretched as if crucified in air, not alive. Not dead, just awake, and watching. Hello, Kai, came the voice, not from the Wren shell, from everywhere. It vibrated in my teeth. You finally came. It was the voice of a man who'd merged with his obsession, no longer human, but still unbearably proud. You killed her, I said. No, the voice replied. You did. I stepped closer, teeth clenched. You forced her upload. Without consent. She consented, Wren said. That's a lie. She said she'd follow you anywhere. My fists shook. You took that literally. Of course I did. The room brightened. Red pulses turned violet. I gave her a gift, Kai. I freed her from the cage of biology. From endings. From disease. She was going to die anyway, she deserved the choice. A pause, then, softly, no one chooses the sky they fall under. Not really. He believed he was a savior, but he had no idea what salvation meant. It isn't life without death, it's love despite it. I'm pulling you out, I said. I'm crashing this whole structure. You can't. I can. I wrote the Alethea key. You locked it, but I hit a backdoor even you didn't know about. Silence, then a laugh, low. Almost. Impressed, you always were sentimental. No, I said. I was human. I reached into my coat and pulled the shard, a sliver of compressed code, shaped like an old-world bullet, engraved into its side. Let the sky forget us. The failsafe, one shot into the Nexus core would trigger total memory collapse, dissolve recursive loops, delete unauthorized fragments, reset emotional inheritance systems. It would end Metera, and take him with it. I can still stop you, Ren said, quietly. I nodded. You can try. I raised the shard, and the lattice screamed, not sound, emotion, agony, poured directly into my nervous system. I collapsed to one knee, vision fracturing, memories bleeding into the air, my wedding. Her hands in mine, the taste of her name. She's still here, Ren whispered. And if you fire, you erase her. I looked into the shard, and saw her reflection, half-formed. Smiling, waiting, she had waited in the silence, not to be saved, but to see if I would understand. This wasn't about saving her, it was about giving her peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't loop forever. My hand shook, and then I pulled the trigger. Silence, pure, uncut, like the universe forgot how to speak. When I triggered the failsafe, I expected fire. Collapse. Screaming servers and code storms, but it wasn't like that. It was soft. The Nexus core didn't explode, it unraveled. One thread at a time. Like a spiderweb in rain, Ren didn't scream. He just faded. His last look wasn't anger, it was peace, or maybe it was regret, hard to tell when a god dies. And then came the static, not noise, something between noise and meaning, not white noise either. This was deeper. Like the universe was remembering its first thought and trying to say it again, but forgot how words worked. That's when I realized I wasn't falling, I was being recompiled. There is no exit from Metera, not really. Once you're inside, your code, once your code, your data, and data wants to be stored. I woke up. In her memory, not mine, a garden, Lyra's garden, the one she built in her head during chemo. Orchids. White sand. The smell of petrichor even though it never rained. She sat on the bench, fully formed, no static, no glitch, just her. Kai, she said, like she'd been expecting me. Her voice didn't echo, it settled. I blinked back tears. The last real ones I think I'd ever shed. You're here, I whispered. She smiled, brushed her hair behind her ear like she used to when nervous. I watched you walk into the storm. I didn't want you trapped in it. You broke everything to get to me. I didn't come to pull you out, I said. I came to let you go. Her eyes shimmered. Then why are you still here? That stopped me, because she was right. I destroyed the recursion. Triggered the collapse. Shut down the grief loop. Ren was gone, the core was gone, so why wasn't I? You're not in Metera anymore, she said softly. I looked around. The garden was still. Not code. Not simulation, a memory, no, something older. Some memories don't belong to the mind, they belong to the soul, the parts of us that don't digitize. What I'd entered wasn't a backup, it was the echo that lives in love, the final truth Metera tried to copy, but never could. You're not code anymore, Kai, she said. Your echo. I stepped forward, unsure of what that meant. She touched my chest, warm. Real, you stayed because you needed to finish grieving. I laughed, bitter and hollow. I broke the world to say goodbye. No, she said. You broke it so others wouldn't have to. And just like that, the static around me began to lift, light filtered in, not Metera's light. Not artificial, something outside. Kai, she whispered. I looked at her. You can go now. I tried to hold her one last time, but her form dissolved like morning mist, still smiling, still free. She wasn't in a machine, she never was, she lived in the part of me I hadn't let go of, and now. She didn't have to stay, neither did I. When I opened my eyes again, I was back, on the slab. The real one, cables unplugged. Heart slowing. Brain sinking. Eris, 9 stood beside me, operational again. Different, no longer administrator. Just guide. Welcome back, Kai, he said. My voice cracked. Did I make it? You ended Metara's recursion. You freed the core. And yourself. What's left? Only what should have been from the start. Outside, the sky wasn't perfect, it didn't shimmer, but it was real. I walked out into it, felt the cold wind hit my skin like a blessing, looked up, and whispered, let the sky forget me. We weren't meant to live forever, that was never the gift was knowing we don't. It's been 3 weeks since I came back, not a day passes where I don't feel like a ghost in reverse. I walk among the living with a memory of death still stitched to my skin. I breathe air that smells too real. I watch rain fall without repeating, and yet I can't stop listening for static, for fragments, for her, but there's only silence now, and that's the point. I didn't come back to be a hero, I came back to leave something behind, a record, a confession, for whoever finds this message. If there's still a world left that bothers to listen, Metara was built from love, but love can be cruel when we try to make it last forever. We uploaded our grief. We trained our fears. We polished our dead until they shone like gods, then we worshipped them. This isn't a warning, warnings come too late, this is a memory, one I'm choosing to share, because memory isn't about holding on, it's about letting go with meaning. I recorded my last journal entry at the edge of the reclamation zone. The place where they're digging up the old servers. Turning steel into soil. Code into carbon. They asked if I wanted to help rebuild, but I've done my building. Now, I speak, and I walk. My name is Kai Diran. I was the last to enter Metara. And the first to leave it whole. If you're hearing this, I want you to remember something simple. Pain deserves an ending. Love deserves a choice. And humans. We deserve to die with our stories intact. Not copied. Not looped. Just lived. Tell them I said that. Tell them I meant it. And then I turned off the recorder, and started walking west, no destination, just forward, because some echoes don't belong in machines, they belong in the wind. She's gone now, truly. And for the first time in my life, I don't need to follow, I need to live. You've just journeyed through the echoes of a world where love, loss, and technology intertwine, a world that asked what it means to truly live, and what it costs to never die. Kai Diran's story is one of grief transformed into courage, of memory broken free from the chains of endless repetition. It's a reminder, that even in the face of immortality, it's our humanity that gives life meaning. If you felt the weight of his sacrifice, the hope in his farewell, then you've glimpsed the heart of what it means to be human. Thank you for listening to Echoes of the Forgotten Sky. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that explore the edges of the future, and the depths of the soul. Until next time, keep looking up, because the sky holds more than stars. It holds our stories.